Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer, shall we? Picture this. You look at your aquarium, the water looks absolutely crystal clear. The filter is humming along perfectly. But right underneath that flawless surface, a completely silent and invisible danger might be brewing. We're talking about high pH levels. Today, we're breaking down a comprehensive guide from the aquatic experts at TankZen. We're going to map out exactly how to spot this invisible threat, how to test for it, and most importantly, how to safely bring that pH down so your aquatic pets can actually thrive.
So imagine you walk up to your tank and you notice your fish just gasping at the surface. You immediately have to ask yourself, why on earth are they doing that? It's super distressing to watch, right? Your very first instinct is probably to check the filter, or maybe you just assume they're hungry. But actually, this specific behavior is a massive red flag. It tells you something is fundamentally wrong with the water chemistry. Honestly, it's not just a weird quirk. It's a literal cry for help.
And these alarming symptoms? Well, they aren't just random illnesses. They're actually the classic warning signs of high pH and what aquarists call old tank syndrome. Along with that scary surface gasping, you might notice rapid gill movement, like it looks like they're running a marathon while just sitting still. Or maybe there's a sudden loss of appetite, or general lethargy where they just sort of hover at the bottom. You might even see their vibrant colors suddenly looking totally washed out. If you're seeing these signs, high pH is very likely the culprit here.
But to really solve this mystery, we first need to quickly define what pH actually is. It's basically just a scale that measures how acidic or alkaline your aquarium water is, with 7.0 sitting perfectly in the middle as neutral. Anything below 7.0 is acidic, and anything above it is alkaline. You can kind of think of it as the foundation of your tank's environment. If that foundation shifts too far in either direction, the whole ecosystem just starts to crumble.
So here's the crucial thing. Most freshwater fish absolutely thrive in a very specific range, right between 6.5 and 7.5. That is the sweet spot. But, keep in mind this is just a general rule. Specific species have their own unique preferences. Like the TankZen guide points out that Narrant snails actually love slightly alkaline conditions, whereas species like bristlenose plecos definitely lean toward the acidic side. Knowing your specific fish is totally vital. But for a standard freshwater community tank, this 6.5 to 7.5 range is everything.
Now, what happens if you just ignore those numbers? Well, if your levels stay way too high for too long, you risk running straight into old tank syndrome. And this is terrifying because chronic high pH doesn't just stress your fish out, it actively changes the chemistry of the waste in your tank. Ammonia and nitrites, which we all know are already bad news, actually become significantly more toxic in an alkaline environment. It literally turns your gorgeous aquarium into a toxic, uninhabitable wasteland. No exaggeration.
So, before we go changing anything, we've got to play detective. Because let's face it, you can't fix what you haven't measured. Here's a super simple 5-step process using something like the API Freshwater Master Test Kit. First up, just prepare the kit according to the instructions. Second, grab a water sample with the dropper or syringe. Third, add your test reagents and give that tube a really good shake. Fourth, and honestly this is kind of the fun part, compare the color of the water to the provided chart. And finally, step 5, write those results down. You absolutely need a baseline for the future. It takes literally just a few minutes, but it's an essential habit to build.
All right, now that we know our numbers and we've got our baseline, let's look at our arsenal. We basically have two main paths to choose from here: chemical fixes versus going totally green. On the one hand, we've got chemical adjusters. These are fast-acting, they're super precise, but they require extreme caution because moving too fast can seriously shock your fish. On the other hand, we have natural methods. These are slow-acting and biological, which is generally safer, but they do come with a few quirks, like potentially turning your pristine water a bit yellow or brown from natural tannins.
Let's break down the mechanical and chemical side of things first. If you're in a spot where you need rapid results, these methods are incredibly effective. You can grab dedicated products like Seachem Acid Buffer, which safely lowers pH without causing a sudden, dangerous cliff drop. Another really fascinating method, especially popular in those beautiful, lush-planted tanks, is injecting CO2. The carbon dioxide actually reacts with the water to form carbonic acid, naturally bringing the pH right down. Now, CO2 systems will run you anywhere from $50 to $200, so it's a bit of an investment. Alternatively, you can just stick to consistent 10 to 20% weekly water changes using slightly acidic, dechlorinated water. Or, better yet, set yourself up for success from the get-go by using a pH-lowering substrate like fluval stratum that slowly releases buffering minerals over time.
Okay, get ready for a totally counterintuitive trick: adding aquarium salt.
I know, right? You would never normally think of salt when you're trying to lower pH, but it turns out salt dissociates into ions that can actually buffer the water and make it more acidic. It is a fantastic little science hack. But, and this is a huge but, the TankZen experts explicitly warn that this has to be used with extreme caution. Some freshwater species are highly sensitive to salt, so please always research your specific fish before you try this one out.
Now, for those of you wanting to take the natural route, there are some really fantastic biological additions that lower pH while giving you some awesome secondary benefits. Take driftwood, for example. You soak it first so it doesn't cloud things up, drop it in, and it naturally lowers pH while releasing beneficial tannins. Peat moss is another amazing natural buffer you can just hide right inside your filter mesh bag, though it will definitely turn your water a little yellow. Then you've got almond leaves, often called Indian almond leaves, which lower pH while creating this super healthy, natural-looking habitat that fish just love hiding in. And don't forget plants like hornwort. It's a fast grower that actively absorbs dissolved CO2 and releases oxygen. It's basically like having a tiny biological water treatment facility right inside your tank.
Hold up, though. Before you go rushing off to add any of these to your tank, I need you to commit this specific number to memory, 0.2. This is the absolute, non-negotiable maximum amount you should ever change your pH in a single day. If your pH is sitting at 8.0 today, you do not want it dropping to 7.0 by tomorrow morning. No way. You want it at 7.8. When it comes to aquarium keeping, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a lifesaver.
Actually, the experts at TankZen have a perfect golden rule for this. Sudden drops in pH can be just as harmful as high pH levels. Always make changes gradually to avoid shocking your fish. See, a rapid swing in water chemistry can induce severe osmotic shock, which is very often fatal. Having patience is what prevents that deadly crash. So, adjust in small increments, test your water daily, and use a buffer to keep everything nice and stable.
Of course, things don't always go perfectly to plan in this hobby, so let's talk troubleshooting. If your water turns cloudy or yellow from the tannins in your driftwood or peat moss, don't panic. It is totally harmless. But if it really bothers you visually, you can easily fix it with a water clarifier or just toss a carbon filter in there. Now, if you find your pH drops but then stubbornly bounces right back up, you probably have hard water buffers fighting against you. In that case, you're going to want to step up those frequent water changes and maybe consider switching to a dedicated pH-lowering substrate. Oh, and if your test readings seem wildly inconsistent day to day, make sure you're testing your water at the exact same time every single day. That helps rule out completely natural daily fluctuations.
So we've built a pretty solid foundation of water chemistry today, but applying all of this to your specific fish, that is where the real magic happens. Every single tank is like a unique fingerprint. The methods we've explored today give you the power to prevent toxic old tank syndrome and create a beautifully stable, thriving environment. So what do you say? Are you ready to put this knowledge to work and watch your fish show off their brightest colors and healthiest behaviors?
To make absolutely sure your peat puffers, rainbow sharks, bristlenose plecos, and all your other aquatic friends live their best lives, you've got to head over to the TankZen blog. They have the ultimate, in-depth care guides tailored to specific species, all completely backed by aquatic science. Don't let invisible threats ruin your tank. But before you go, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If pH can shift this silently and cause this much havoc, what other invisible chemistry changes are happening in your water right this very second? Master your water chemistry today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy fish keeping.